In the East, Giannis and the Bucks limp into the playoffs. They lost 8 of their final 11 games. They go in as the 3 seed after sitting at 2 almost all of the year. But on the final day, that seed was stolen by the Knicks, a top 2 seed for the first time in over a decade, winning 5 straight to close the season, including an overtime thriller yesterday to close out the regular season. So where does that leave us? The 7-8 play-in matchup will be decided between the Sixers, who go in winning 8 straight, and the Heat, who of course reached the NBA Finals last year after beginning as an 8 seed. What does it all look like? Let me show it to you right here. The playoff matchups, Celtics and Knicks don't know yet who they'll play. Bucks will play the Pacers. Cavaliers will play the Magic. I have my sheet laminated. So we all know that mine is more important than either of yours.
Well, we don't all walk around with a laminator.
No, exactly.
I mean, what do you want?
I have Jack. He is a human laminator. By the way, quick tip of the cap, Adam Silver and the guys, going into the final day of the season, 15 of the 20 seeds were as yet undetermined. It all got decided yesterday. It was a thrilling day. Legs, what was your number one takeaway from the final day?
Well, just the way, ironically, it turned out. Like these teams fighting, clawing their way, trying to climb up the board in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks in particular. You go to overtime, you claw out of a fourth quarter deficit, you win the game, and you might actually be worse off because there's a very good chance you're going to get the Philadelphia 76ers, assuming they beat Miami in the 7-8 game, which I think they will. And right now, for me, Philadelphia represents the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference to the Boston Celtics, if there is such a thing, the way the Boston Celtics have looked this year. I just think when you get into a series and you've got a guy like Embiid or potentially a guy like Jimmy Butler, right, and what they could be capable of in a series, I just think that's a tougher matchup than who you would have gotten at 6.
Alan, I am sitting with a bunch of Knicks fans yesterday watching how this thing plays out. And once Cleveland lost, for anyone who was watching it yesterday, you know the order in which things happen. Every one of them was saying, lose the game, and yet the Knicks won.
19,000 people at the Garden yesterday I was sitting with were all saying the same thing. It was unbelievable. The amount of consternation there was about the final shot of regulation, and when DeRozan missed it, it was like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, oh? Like, you know, like in this city, Herm Edwards famously said, hello, you play to win the game. So the idea was to get the win, to go into the playoffs playing great, but there is that concern because we all know the history between the Knicks and the Heat if they get there. And then Joel Embiid and the Sixers do loom as a team that is concerning because when he's healthy, they're a really good team. So that's going to be the matchup, one of them. But for the Knicks, it was all about getting into the playoffs, playing as their best basketball of the season, which they're doing right now.
Yeah, it's such a complicated thing because you want to continue to play well, right, and win games and have momentum and understand how to win close games. That's what you're going to need to do in the postseason. It's just ironic that it turned out the way it did with so much uncertainty going into the last game of the season. Even in the West, too, with Denver not getting the 1. Who expected that? Nobody. So now you look at a team like the Lakers. Is that who they're going to get? Just the way it all played out right at the end, it could be unfortunate for the Knicks, but look, they're playing great and give them a lot of credit for finishing second.
We'll get to the Lakers in a minute. I'm old enough to remember when a lot of people thought the Celtics should have tanked on the final day to avoid playing the Brooklyn Nets. And then, 4 games later, they had swept the Nets. So that kind of stuff rarely works. That said, the 3 seed is Milwaukee, and the Bucks go in with about as many questions as a heralded, and I'm not even sure that's not an overstatement for them, but they are a champion a couple of years ago. They go in with about as many questions as you can have.
And for them, falling to the 3rd seed might have been the best thing for them because they do avoid having to play, like we just talked about, the experience, the tough and rugged teams that they would have to face that they're not built for right now. They play a Pacers team, which, by the way, I think Giannis is still looking for his 64-point ball, right? Remember, they have some history, these two teams.
Right.
But they're also, you know what else they have together? Neither one of them play perimeter defense. Take the over in this series because there's going to be a lot of offense. This will play into what the Pacers want to do. But for the Bucks, if Giannis is not on the floor, do they have enough offense to keep up with the Pacers? Damian Lillard didn't look great in the final couple of games either, and Doc was taking him out of the game, and Lillard was trying to explain, I'm fine, but he's got a hip injury as well. Legs, I'm telling you, I don't know if the Bucks will have enough offense in this series, but at least they have a puncher's chance more than they would if they were the 2 seed.
I agree with that, although I'll say this. I think Indiana could beat Milwaukee if Giannis was fully healthy going into the postseason. The way that they played against him in the regular season and also just their style of play. Milwaukee's the one team that is not going to slow Indiana down. And if Indiana gets humming offensively, Milwaukee is in deep trouble. Whether Giannis is 100% or not, they play two bigs a lot, and that is exactly what Indiana picks apart because you've got to run back and then you've got to funnel out to the three-point line because they take early, quick ones. So I think Indiana is in a great spot here to play the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is clearly not 100%. And if he doesn't play at all, you're in great shape. But even if he does, I think the style of play is a problem for Milwaukee.
So that series will begin sometime next weekend. Let's go over to the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and let's give it up for that team, that young group. They clinched the 1 seed. They are the youngest 1 seed since seeding began in 1984, nearly 2 years younger than any of the other 1 seeds have been in the sport. Again, we're going back 40 years of history here. So SGA and the Thunder, a salute to you. The play-in, the 7-8 game is the Pelicans against the Lakers. The 7 seed has a 5-1 record in that game. The lone 8 seed winner being the Hawks last year, which of course came in the East. The other play-in game out West, a matchup between the 9 seed Kings and the 10 seed Warriors. It's a rematch of a first-round series from last year where the Warriors won in 7. But what that basically is telling you is that Steph and company are going to need to win 2 road games just to get into the playoff field. Here's what it looks like. Again, Thunder and Nuggets will face the 2 teams that come out of there. Timberwolves will take on the Suns. Clippers taking on the Mavericks. The Lakers should not play tomorrow night. They should not play LeBron. They should not play AD. They do not want to be the 7 seed. You want to be the 8. I'm taking my chances in a one-and-done at home against either Sacramento or Golden State and go in against the very young OKC Thunder in round 1 instead of going into the buzzsaw that is Denver. I think it is worth the risk.
Everything you said is right, except for one thing. You put yourself into a one-off situation. Okay, where you lose 1 game, you're going home for the summer if you lose that second night, right? This is different with the Knicks. You're talking about win or lose determines your seeding.
Right.
You still have a best-of-7 series you're about to go play, right? And the better team will win that series. This is different. Like, you lose that game intentionally, you put yourself into a situation where you're playing the winner of the 9-10, and anything could happen. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody gets in foul trouble. D'Angelo Russell goes 1 for 14. Like, there's so many things could happen in 1 game.
Yes.
And you find yourself going home for the summer.
I
think that's a little bit more precarious.
I recognize the risk, but I think life is about assessing risk, reward. Is it worth that risk to avoid playing Denver in round 1 or 2? There's no one who can. Look, the Nuggets are the one team the Lakers have no chance to beat. Realistically, no chance to beat. And you know who knows that? LeBron James knows that. They got swept by the Nuggets last year. That is a matchup they are hoping someone else knocks off Denver along the way. To me, Alan, I understand the risk. And if you wind up losing at home Friday night to Sacramento or Golden State, you wind up looking terrible. But I think it is a risk worth taking.
Our good friend Monica McNutt always does retweet, because that's exactly how I felt the minute I saw the way things set up. And you point out that they got swept last year in the Western Conference Finals by them. They don't match up well with them. They haven't beat them in 9 games. This goes back to last season. They just cannot beat this team. So you have to look at it in a way, like you're saying, you take a risk on a game. Well, okay, so you win 1 game to lose the next 4. Or you lose a game to win a game. And if your season ends there, it was going to end anyway. You need the better matchup in this case. And if you think about it from a franchise perspective, the Lakers have a better chance to actually advance in the playoffs by avoiding the Denver Nuggets, because then you don't have to see them till later. So for me, you look at the Thunder, and you don't want to disrespect them. But you gave a stat that was incredible, and that is their age.
Yeah.
The fact that they are the youngest, number 1 seed. They have no playoff experience whatsoever, and now they have the weight of expectations as a number 1 seed. That game 1 at home, when LeBron comes in with AD, that's going to have a ton of pressure on it. That's the best case situation.
Have we won you over?
No, there's no debate whether it's in the Lakers.
There's a debate.
No, there's no debate whether this is in the long-term best interest
Is
of
it
the
worth
Lakers.
the risk to lose the game Tuesday night? That's
Yeah,
the
it probably is worth the risk. I
You
would
don't
say
think you can beat, no matter who it is, whether it's the Warriors or the Kings, you don't think you can
well,
beat
obviously they're going to be favoring a game. All I'm saying is,
home.
in a one-game single elimination event, there's all kinds of stuff that's out of your control as a team. Weird things can happen, and now you're going home for the summer. You didn't even play in the postseason when you had a chance to win a game and at least guarantee you're in a best-of-7. There's no doubt. I certainly don't think they're beating the Denver Nuggets. They'll probably lose that series in 5 games if they play Denver. But to not participate in the postseason at all. If you've got a roster with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, which is the risk you would run getting into a one-off. By the way, maybe that's a Steph Curry. Also, that's an X factor if you're the Lakers playing Steph Curry at home. Maybe Curry goes for 45, 50 in that game and bounces you too. That's a risk also. And now you're not even participating in the postseason.
Now I'm saving LeBron's legs for a 4-game sweep.
Lest anyone be really mad at Alan Hahn and myself, but mostly at Alan, for this take, bear in mind you are in excellent company. For anyone who missed it over the weekend, Alan Hahn got called out by Ric Flair in what can only be described as the greatest get-up Mad Lib of all time. The legendary Ric Flair called out Alan Hahn for a take on LeBron James. He tweeted, "I'm sorry to report to you, Alan Hahn, that LeBron recorded another triple-double a year after you called him an old man, you stupid." I'm not going to say it. "It's so embarrassing to have you report about sports. When I see you on Get Up or First Take, I turn the TV off. LeBron, triple-double, the Lakers march on. Woo!" So says Ric Flair. What do you say to that, Alan Hahn?
Well, it's funny because, first of all, I was embarrassed when I saw this for him.
No, not for him.
Absolutely for him. First of all, I don't know wrestling that well. I called my friend Peter Rosenberg and I just said, tell me what's going on with Ric Flair. And he said, look, this guy was so famous, so popular, that they said that you could have him in a broom in a match and people want to watch it.
Correct.
If this is where he is in his career, I'm putting my money on the broom. First and foremost. Second of all, speaking of brooms, when we had this take, the Lakers were getting swept by the Denver Nuggets. And oh, by the way, LeBron James talks about being old. No one talks about being old more than LeBron James. So give me a break with this. But I'll tell you what, I'll give him a chance. You want to debate this, you want to get into this part of the world, that's fine. Ric Flair, come on, my show today, Bart and Hahn, 12 to 3. You know the number. Bart Scott used to have you back. He's got mine now.
No way.
You want to get into this game? You want this smoke? You call the show. We'll have it out.
No way. No way. No way. I'll tell you what. Ric Flair, call my show and we'll destroy Hahn together. That's what we'll do. I'm on Ric Flair's side.
I see he went full heel.
10 out of 10
Full heel.
times.
Greeny went full heel.